Pirates lead 7-1.
All right. That was basically the winning blow. Colin Moran, a home run last night. Pirates gave him a 7-1 lead. Braves came back a little bit against the back of the bullpen in the ninth inning, but 7-4 is the final. That the Pirates split the series, three-game series in Pittsburgh with the Braves. I hate interleague play because it's the only time the Braves play the Pirates in Pittsburgh all year long. They only play once. But you get 1 year series every year with the Blue Jays if you're the Braves. I mean, that's supposed to be, just interleague play, Then you got these people that say, well, if they have the DH, it should be in both leagues, or they should neither one of them have it. I despise the DH. But at least you have a choice, one style of ball or whatever. Why would anyone watch the Mets? I mean, really, when you consider the history and all that, Yankees, Mets, I mean, they got to be total counterculture. They got to be total modern Miss Rheingold. There's a New York reference. If they adopt the DH in the National League, what's the difference in style of play? Why would you root as a New Yorker? You're from Queens? Outside of that, I can't imagine. Rusty Staub was your third cousin? I mean, why would you root for the Mets over the Yankees if that was the case? Similarly, why would you root for I was going to say White Sox and Cubs. Yeah. I guess both of them have really losing stigmas, although the Cubs ended that, didn't they, a few years ago when they won a World Series? White Sox, they won it in 2005, but they haven't been back since. They've only been there twice since 1919, for crying out loud, when they threw the World Series. Why would you root for the Angels? From suburban? I mean, I guess the White Sox could be from the south side of Chicago or something, But really, anyway, remember that Colin Moran with that home run last night to basically salt the game away for the Pirates. Right now, the Pirates, I think it's the third inning we have us, and it's 2-1 Buccos, and it's because of a Colin Moran home run. I don't have the, recording of it, but take it from me. So the Pirates lead the Braves 2-1 right now in matinee baseball and such. So I'm going with that. But that wasn't the big news between the Pirates and the Braves in this series. As I mentioned before, Steve Blass, a former Kingsport Pirate, that goes back to 1960, where with his first paycheck, he told me this personally, he bought a watermelon and a six-pack of beer. You could do that at the age of 18 back in 1960. Anyway, he has, since that time, after being a quality pitcher for the Pirates, won the seventh game of the 71 World Series, won Game 3 also, that stopped, Orioles were leading the series 2-0, and Blass shut him down in Game 3 too, so he was a real World Series hero, and then he lost his control. They call it Steve Blass disease now, and for the last, since the 80s, he's been a Pirates broadcaster, and so this is his last year as a Pirates broadcaster. He has been affiliated with the Pittsburgh Pirates for 60 seasons. So you might think he's 77 years old, and although he did play with some ball players who wore jewelry on the field, Willie Stargell wore a chain, Dave Parker was very famous for it, he wore an earring. By the way, don't do that in the minors. Majors, you can do whatever you want. Don't do it in the minors. That's baseball code, folks. Anyway, the Parker and Blass, they were teammates. They weren't teammates long. Okay. Blass and Stargell were, and they were close. And I would point this out, Willie Stargell's son, who's been a guest on this show, as a matter of fact, got his ear pierced because he was a Parker fan from back in the day, in the old lumber company days. Okay, yeah, all right. Enough reminiscing there. But anyway, Ron Acuna, going to be with the Braves for 8 years on the big contract. Took a big swing. First game of the series against the Pirates. Next game, Steve Brault, kind of a no-name pitcher for the Buccos, hits him with a pitch. Question then became, was it intentional? Blass then said, you know what, if you played with Acuna's swagger back in the day, Yeah, you did get hit with a pitch, or you got thrown after. Greg Brown, who also has been a guest on this show, then said he didn't believe that Brault's pitch was intentional, and Steve Blass agreed. And there is now some things where, let's see here. Acuna wears a lot of jewelry on the field. By the way, if you want to do that, like I said, I mean, the old lumber company, the Pittsburgh Pirates, did it a lot. Barry Bonds famously wore an earring. You know, I mean, if that's your style, okay. It's not my style, but I'm really not that one to judge, okay? And I'm not anti-jewelry. I've certainly given it as gifts to girlfriends or, let's see, or my grandmother, my mother, my aunt, you know, this sort of thing. I get them. But the idea here now is Blass complained about jewelry and stuff. That is the actual quote. There are some people that tried to... It was a very modest comment and basically just like, okay, Acuna, yeah, modern generation, jewelry. Kind of the conversation that Steve Blass, who's a 77-year-old man, might just make. When Garrett Jones played for the Pittsburgh Pirates, by the way, whenever he would come up, Steve Blass, like clockwork, you could depend on him saying this. He would make a reference to the Coasters and Along Came Jones, song from 1959. You know, Salty Sam and, you know, if you don't give me the deed to this ranch, I'll blow you all to bits, you know. Deed to this ranch. I don't think I said it right. Okay. That old song. You know, kind of a novelty song by the Coasters. They also did Charlie Brown, you know, all that sort of stuff. Well, that was Steve Blass was 17 when that song came out from the Coasters and was going up the charts. That was one of the... You always love the songs when you're 17, right? I mean, you know, that's me. That's when I started watching Headbangers Ball. All right, so, I mean, you always love the song when you're 17. He would make this whenever Garrett Jones would come in. Garrett Jones, 50 years after the song was on the chart, he would be saying, so here's Garrett, Along Came Jones, like the Coasters, Garrett Jones. It got to be friendly grandpa, and because the Pirates lost 105 games that year, it really was. I mean, it was sort of like, yes, you know, thank goodness Jones didn't come up that much. I mean, 4 times a ball game. Otherwise, you'd have a heck of a drinking game. But, you know, regardless, that's Steve Blass. But, you know, Craig Calcaterra, so glad. I mean, this is the reason why I'm glad we're not with NBC Sports anymore. I mean, you lose out on Jerry Bonkowski, although you don't, because he'll be on the show tomorrow at 1:15. We're moving him back at 15 minutes, by the way. So our NASCAR talk tomorrow will not be at 1, but at 1:15. Make that announcement right now. But you don't have to read Craig Calcaterra and check the NBCSports.com website for baseball like I used to. And that meant that I didn't have to read a writer who'd tweet out things like, when a big American flag was unfurled at SunTrust Park, keep sports and politics separate, because an American flag was out there. I didn't have to read essay after essay after essay about why the Cleveland Indians logo was racist. I didn't have to go there. Now, the thing is, Calcaterra actually, you know, even a broken clock's right twice a day. He's mentioned some things about baseball and, you know, its lack of popularity and the reasons why that I actually agree with. Of course, the major thing that I think is because it's too politically correct. And so, what has Craig Calcaterra done? But because Steve Blass doesn't like Ron Acuna Jr.'s jewelry, and yeah, I know it's an old-fashioned comment, but it's not a racist comment. Guess what Craig Calcaterra is calling Steve Blass? This is a guy who, by the way, the Pirates always were very known, very diverse team when he played and such. And he was someone who was known to be in the locker room, the guy that if there were any, shall we say, cultural, racial divides, he, Willie Stargell, all those guys they were able to smooth them over so that they really didn't exist. In fact, this was known with the Pirates at that time. Ed Whitson from Unicoi County told me once, look, the Pirates back then, the closest team I ever played on. And you had Irwin, Tennessee with, let's see, Stargell was from Oakland, California. And you had, who else was on the, so, Manny Sanguillen from Panama. And you had Bert Blyleven from Zeist Holland by way of Southern California. And Kent DeColvey from Cincinnati. I mean, you had a very, let's see here. Omar Moreno was also from Latin America. I think he was from Panama. You had Bill Robinson, who was actually from suburban Pittsburgh. I mean, that was a diverse team. Dave Parker from Mississippi. And so, I tell you all this, it was a very close team, as Ed Whitson has told me. I mean, and it's been very famous that it was a close team. But of course, as Calcaterra has to say, you know what, because Steve Blass said back in my day, you might throw at someone who used jewelry like that. He's got to be a bigot. I am absolutely livid. All the Pittsburgh media has come out. They know Steve Blass. I've met him, interviewed him a few times. Like I told you, the story about the 60 Kingsport Pirates and the watermelon and the 6-pack of beer and all that. Yeah, he's told me that specifically. I just can't believe that we could find, you know what? All this jewelry isn't for me is now turned into a comment that is said to be racist. What if, honestly, can people of all races, and for that matter, gender, not wear a lot of jewelry? I mean, if I wanted to, Bobby Pittman on the old SCTV TV show. I'll have 9 rings on my fingers because you gotta leave them wanting more. Remember? Come on! You want to talk about finding hate where it doesn't exist. Craig Calcaterra trying to call out and speak of racism for Steve Blass. Because Acuna, his remarks, in my time, you wouldn't wear that amount of jewelry. It's a legitimate comment. Although I do mention that the lumber company did have, that Blass played. Now, Blass's last year with the Pirates was 74. He had a cup of coffee with him. Went to spring training in 75. Just did not have his control. Regardless. The situation came about. Blass is now under some fire. And Twitter now is throwing him apart. Oh, Twitter is throwing him apart. Is there anything credible on Twitter ever? You get outside of who's going to be on this show on my own Twitter account at markybilson.com. What else can you believe on Twitter? Honestly. Or the opinions that I put out on Twitter. Well, I say it, fine. Everybody else, 7 billion people in the world, they're crazy. All right, yeah. Sure. But quite literally, the Twitter sphere has gotten on them. I thought that social media was now supposed to be ridding itself of hate. Instead, they're placing scarlet letters on people who do not deserve it. Really. Gee, guys wearing a little more jewelry than I'm used to. That's now a prejudicial comment? Really? By the way, Acuna wants to wear jewelry. That's all for it. I could see where it could get in the way sometimes. It's something that I wouldn't do. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of wearing jewelry myself. I'm a fan of giving it to, like I said, as a gift or something to women. It's not for me. But if it's for Acuna, more power to him. But don't call somebody out of, racist for it.
20 WEMB.